Hello, peoples. It's not technically time, but we've got us a subject. Be honest, I'm about to go off. Because this ain't no fucking joke, y'all. This is no joke. We've got Ian and Thomas with us. Guys, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So, as of... hold on, let me look up the actual article date. Oh, yeah, all right, here we go. It was 10:24 a.m. today, looks like. Today's 13th, y'all? No, yesterday. So I guess it took us about 24 hours to notice this stupid shit. And it is. It's stupid. We have had enough with the controversies in our game. There is no reason whatsoever to go off in such a way that you are taking the horror out of a horror game. We can't have it. We just can't. I'm tired of, like, back in when we had the vampire who showed up as a Nazi at the castle. Okay, hello. It may not be a good part of our history, but it is history. And you are going to tell me that no Nazis were ever embraced? I don't buy it. I don't fucking buy it. And then we went on with the one sentence, 4 words in the V5 book that everybody went off about. Oh my God, they're talking about Nazis. We can't play this game. Oh. No, fuck y'all. I got no sense of humor about your bullshit. So, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to throw this at Thomas first because he has some pretty good ideas. And Ian, you're up next, man, so be ready. Thomas, take it.
All right. So we'll start with what the title of the stream is, the Chechnya controversy. So in the new Camarilla book, it states and tries to sort of frame a lot of what's going on in Chechnya as an overall hidden Camarilla ploy that's a media blitz that's being organized by them to hide the fact that Chechnya more or less has become one of their most safeguarded havens of free feeding, and it's sort of worded in a way that they control everything in Chechnya almost openly, which seems to contradict some things with the Second Inquisition. But writing aside, people blew this idea far out of proportion and started to say things like White Wolf doesn't care or is condoning or romanticizing the systematic, gathering up and killing of homosexuals and people who fall into the LGBT plus spectrum, which to me is definitely not what they're doing.
Not even close.
Not even close. I think twofold. One, it may have been a slightly miswording is the furthest I'll go. I think a better wording would have been the cam is clearly using this extermination as a means of free feeding and as a means of a power grab, because that's what the cam would do. The cam's going to survive, because that's what the entire purpose of the Camarilla is. It's to fucking survive. They have built their entire structure of traditions, of feudalism, to survive, to keep vampires alive, and to keep certain vampires in power. That's what the purpose is. So they're going to use world events and travesties to their own advantage, because they're inhuman monsters.
Exactly.
Right. I don't think anyone can really argue that they're inhuman monsters, and I don't think anyone else would argue that the Chechnya bit was poorly written. But I think also it's more nuanced. Like, not only is it really stupid to editorially to let that pass, so kind of we got a finger wag, but whatever, mistakes are made. But it's kind of like I don't know. It was bad writing. Okay, it's bad writing.
All right.
Finger wag, okay. 10 lashes for you. It was very insensitive. Okay, no problem. 20 lashes. So, we're stacking them up here. But I don't think it's enough to condemn the leadership.
Because these guys are running the deal, but they're not the ones writing it, mostly. So,
if I might riff on that for a sec,
okay.
I think what's really going on is mass psychology. That we've had a series of unfortunate events, and I'm sorry I don't have my headphones on. I'll remedy that in a moment.
Yeah, take your time.
No worries. Yeah, I'll finish this rant and then I'll put my headphones on. So, right. So we've had a series of unfortunate events that have been really at their core, mostly, air. But in the beginning, I think there was a controversy with the new White Wolf crew, if you want to, whatever leadership, and I think was legitimate, and it raised my attention. I was like, whoa, this is really weird. I'm maybe I need to pay attention here. And it was when they hired Zach Smith. Zach Smith is a professional shit goblin. He is a serial harasser and is basically just objectively a bad person.
And that is not an uncommon opinion, by the way.
No, I'm in good company with that opinion.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, there's forum comments all over the Onyx Path group about how this, whatever. You can research the guy, or you can take my word for it, whatever you want to do. But the point is, it raised my eyebrow, and I thought, wow, that's really weird. Why would you hire like a serial harasser and then expect nothing to happen? Obviously he became a problem, and they got rid of him. But all that did was raise my eyebrow. I was like, okay, well, that's not cool. I'm not going to not buy your books or anything. But it did make me curious. I was now sensitized to maybe there's a underlying controversy waiting to emerge. And then the V5 came out, and there was some mention of Nazi groups because of the insignia.
A 4-word sentence. 4 words.
Right. Yeah. A very minor aspect of the game that has been around since pretty much the beginning, and that's that some really detestable human beings were turned into vampires, and that they now continue their relatively extremely detestable behavior on life, and that is there are Nazi vampires, right? That's basically what I'm saying. And I don't know why anyone that's already a fan of this game would object to that, because they've been there basically the whole time. So I thought that was complete dead air. There's nothing to talk about. That is a non-issue. It's an artificial controversy. I was like, move on. And this next one is even more nuanced. I think it's somewhere in the middle, because I think it is really insensitive. I think that they really should have caught that in the editing process. But also just to really pivot on the fact that it's not so much the content as the bad writing, that if they would have done a whole book about Chechnya, I think it would have been received differently. Like the Charnel House of Europe, for example, the Great Wraith, the Great War. These are, by the way, anyone who's listening, these are Wraith the Oblivion titles that were put out, 20 years ago. But they focus on World War I and World War II, and they're extremely graphic. I mean, they're not extremely
Well, the Fifth Great Maelstrom had to do with World War II when they dropped the bomb.
Right. I mean, So this has been this horribly detestable human behavior has been canonical stuff for decades. Yes. So I'm really surprised that
literally decades, by the way.
Literally, right? Yeah. So I was really surprised by the last two quote unquote controversies. One, the whole Nazi thing. I mean, Nazis are bad. I actually think you should punch them, whatever. I'm like,
yeah, punch them in the dick.
Punch them in the face. Get rid of them. If you actually think that Jewish people should be exterminated, maybe you should leave. But
exactly.
So it's, I'm not for Nazism, but this is also a facet of our reality, and we're taking the reality that we have here and we're making it worse. The world of darkness is actually a more dangerous place. The shadows linger a little longer. Where people are a little darker. So maybe World War II was actually worse. You know what I'm saying? I don't think people even go that far to think that, well, the history books maybe not even go as far as the World of Darkness really did. So having Nazis in the World of Darkness is a fucking duh. Obviously they're there. Why wouldn't they? It's the World of Darkness. But yeah, I think I've gone off long enough. But I think that the Chechnya thing is really, it's nuanced. I think if they would have done more work on it, I think they could have made it a thing, and I think it's really stupid of them to have said that they're basically the genociding of gay people is somehow a cover for the cam feeding. But if they would have, that's, I think, really just bad writing. But if they would have ground their heels into this subject matter, I think they could have come out with something promising, like they did with Wraith, the Great War, and Charnel Houses of Europe, if that makes sense.
Okay, here's a direct quote from the article, ladies and gentlemen, and I will put the URL for this article in the description for this video after we get finished and the actual what do you call it? Oh, processing. That's it. Once that is done. So, here we go. This is directly from the article. Reaction on social media has unsurprisingly tended towards outrage on all sides. Posts on Twitter and Facebook are filled with fans decrying White Wolf for compromising on its creative vision, while other fans are aghast at its creative vision strayed into such territory in the first place. Okay, that's the end of the quote. But come on, y'all. Seriously, this is no. We wouldn't have this back in the day. I guarantee you. It would have been completely out of place for anybody to get really bent out of shape over one sentence or one, how should I put it? Even a small section in one of the books. They just wouldn't care. Except for your random outliers, of course. But
it's a kinder nation, Peter.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Now we're living in the 21st century, and everybody's connected to everybody else. And so we're getting a lot more, flashbang about anything. And I do mean anything. People on both sides will get bent out of shape over some really trivial shit. And I'm not talking about vampire, I'm talking about in general. You get online any day of the week and you see somebody bitching about something and somebody telling that person to dial it down a notch. That's just the way it works nowadays. So, what do you guys feel? Is this true outrage or is it
manufactured?
Manufactured. Thank you.
So, I'd like to go first because I want to first echo a bunch of things Ian said. I agree with him that it's sort of been a thing of first jackass issue. I looked into it because I was like, I'll give the benefit of the doubt in research, and then I was like, oh,
and he's
why everyone fucking hates him. Okay, moving on. Nazi thing. Again, I agree with Peter. 4 words. Also looking into it, it was some of them are so extreme that they are neo-Nazis who call themselves alt-right, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually really rather true. So moving on. And then the Chechnya thing. Now, for the current outrage, I think it is a mixed bag and nuanced. I do think some of it is true outrage. I think some people have been following the Chechnya thing very closely. And for a lot of people, it's very important to them because you don't see it on mainstream media anymore. We talked about it for like a week on the news in the U.S.
You're right.
Specifically, and then it was gone. And it's like, this is still going on. And a lot of people, I think, are genuinely afraid that much like it was in World War II, it just wasn't talked about because no one cared because it wasn't on your doorstep. Because the extermination of people happens all over the world. Let's be honest. In real life.
Genocide is not just, Nazis.
No, it's not. It's not just Nazis. So I think the people who are coming from it from this perspective of, I don't like you fictionalizing a real life currently going on genocide and sort of putting it in your book, I understand that outrage. That's the people I'd like to talk to. Being like, okay, let's talk. But as a counter to that, in my other Discord I'm in the Caffeinated Conquest Discord. Great guys. Look them up. They were, one of their people brought the fact that a lot of people didn't know the Chechnya thing was going on until this controversy happened. Yep. And it's like, wow.
It's because people don't pay attention to shit that doesn't affect them.
However, I think people who want to condemn White Wolf as being entirely morally corrupt, who are sexist, racist, pro-Nazi, you throw in the rest of the buzzwords, you because they're all there.
Those people are stupid. They're literally the stupidest people. They're foaming at the mouth, fucking retards. Like there's absolutely nothing we can say about.
No, you can't, and you're not going to change their mind.
Nope, you never will, because those are the reactionary people who, much like the reactionary people on the right and the left, they have their NPC buzzwords, and they wait for any moment to throw them out. The NPC meme is real, people. Just hashtag NPCs.
Yeah.
It's real, and there are some of them. And those are the people you kind of have to... Something I want to promote here in this discussion, and for everyone, is try to get more people to talk, because the less there are of just those yelling people, the less likely, the more nuanced an approach a company can take. because a
Right.
company's PR department is just getting that raw feedback. And if it's all the screaming, "You're racist," blah 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 blah, they're going to react according to
what
what those desires
what are
are.
they supposed to do? Yeah, I think
But-
that's. Go ahead. Sorry.
But if there's a larger amount of voices like ours going, next time, redline that a bit better, maybe call in a few people who are really good at this sort of thing. Like, honestly, I would have loved to give that passage before it's published and be like, hey, Matthew Dawkins, read this over real quick.
Yeah,
Just pass your test.
Yeah, well, without going to that direction, by the way, I'll talk about this in a minute, but I have personally rebranded Matthew Dawkins as Mad Dog. So, Matthew Mad Dog Dawkins, we'll talk about him later. I think that the historical lens argument that you made is worthy. Like, I mean, it's worth saying, okay, this is a real tragedy that's happening right now, and we need to wait for historians or whatever to tell us, how to look at this. I think that's a legitimate thing to say, like, in general. That's the historical lens argument, I'm going to call it. But let's just freeze over that for a second. We're talking about genociding gay people. You don't need a historian to tell you this is bad.
Okay.
It's not like one of these nuanced. I mean, what's going on in Chechnya is not particularly nuanced.
That's observably bad. It's not something...
They're rounding up gay people, and they're killing them.
Yeah.
And if they're not killing them, they're imprisoning them and basically torturing them. And we're talking about Russian citizens, not just like, their own neighborhood, gangsters are doing this. This is like organized by the government, the highest
police and all that.
The police, the police are arresting people. This is not like gangs of people are gang raping others.
They're not just arresting people. They're arresting people because their neighbor says they're gay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
So I would like to advise, or just clarify, I wasn't trying to make that argument. So I'm sorry about that. What I meant to say was, no, it's cool. No, because I realize now how my words came across there. Mm-hmm. So no, I agree with you. The historic lens argument, it's valid, but it doesn't fit here because you're right. It is bad. I think we should be able to talk about it in the World of Darkness. I just agree with you that it was poorly written and therefore poorly received. But I understand where the outrage comes from people going, this is happening right now, and I think talking with them, you could come back with, yes, but this spreads awareness if we write about it correctly.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, and we can all admit
it might trigger somebody to actually go out and look it up, even if it's on fucking Wikipedia. It gives them, holy shit, as Ian mentioned earlier, some of these people didn't even know this shit was going on until this happened. Well, that was you, Ian, right?
No, it was Thomas, I think.
Okay, my bad, sorry.
So, okay.
I think that's a terrible way to learn this very important history, but it's an important facet of talking about, an analog to our real world. Is you can learn about World War II or just the English language by reading these books because they're well written. I think that's a part of the World of Darkness that I would hate to lose. I would hate for them to say, you know what, guys, I'm so tired of this. We're going to can the whole. I mean, this would never happen, but we're going to can the whole line, and we're going to come out with a completely fictional world like Ravenloft. Where no one can be offended. And I'd be like so bummed about that. I think the World of Darkness being based on our world is really important.
And it is. It should be.
We're playing World of Darkness. We're not playing D&D for a reason. We like the idea of this darker version of our own world where we all get to play monsters.
Yeah, I mean, Ravenloft Modern sounds actually really cool, but that's not what it is.
Yeah. No. I mean,
Peter's just like, no.
No, I can't do it. No. I mean, I'll do Spelljammer all day long, but I can't see playing. Yeah, I can't see Strahd in modern day. It just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
He would be, I gotta say, Strahd would be probably pulling strings or in torpor.
Yeah.
Or dead. He would be like any other elder in World of Darkness.
And even a lot of the elders don't really believe in the jihad, but they're...
Well, they're starting to.
Yeah, I know, right? So, holy shit, why do I want to go to the Middle East?
I feel this sudden strange pull. Crap, where'd the Book of the Grave War go?
Yeah, exactly. So,
but the book again?
Here's my issue. I finally read that article 3 fucking times. And I get madder every single time.
You have a headache? No, Eric, we can't hear you.
Okay, sorry, man. Eric must be with us, I guess. There he
Yeah,
goes.
he's with us, but we can't hear him.
Hold on, let me figure it out.
Hey,
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, hey.
So you jumping in? Did you read the article yet? Or
Yeah.
go for it, dude.
Yeah,
Go.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. I have to, because this is like something that's been getting under my fucking craw for weeks now, okay? And it's this whole concept of like, okay, look, you're not fucking special, okay?
No, not even
Nobody's coming to get you, okay? Just because somebody writes a piece of fiction that might have the off chance of doing something that happens 5 years from now, just shut up! Fuck!
No, I feel you, dude. No, that's exactly how I felt.
It's this whole thing, right? If you don't like the goddamn game, right? Don't buy it. Move on. If you're not an adult enough to go, hey, this ain't for me, guess I'll go try something else, then fuck off. I mean, seriously.
This
go
is
act
not
like a
Care Bear
goddamn
World,
adult.
yo.
Not up and God, just Sorry, man.
There's actually a D10 My Little Pony game for such people.
There is.
Wow.
Okay, there is. Go out and buy the damn My Little Pony card game and have yourself a blast, but don't fuck with my fun.
Yeah,
all
don't
right?
fuck with my cheese,
It's not
man.
your business to put your agenda and your bullshit into my fun. I happen to like some pretty weird shit, okay? I think Hellraiser is hilarious, all right? But that's the way I am, okay? I don't try to sit here and go, hey, check it out. I know you're afraid of spiders, but here's the movie It, okay? Giant spiders, have at you.
Or
that's
arachnophobia, or whatever. Yeah, I know.
Okay, that's just being a fucking asshole, all right? It also works on the flap on the other end, too. Okay, just because you are a member of a community, or at least trying to shove your way into the member of a community, all right, does not mean that you get to shove your viewpoint onto fucking me any more than, let's say, the local church that is not of my domination has any right to put their way of life on me.
Yeah, I think it's a status quo thing. I applaud that, right? It's about, like, leaving the game alone, right? The game has always had, I'm not a pro-Nazi person, we covered that, but the game has always had Nazis. Mm-hmm. The game has always used very horrible human behavior events like World War I and World War II as plot points. This is nothing new. And if we were to take these out of the game and somehow decide that we don't want to include any of these potentially offensive things anymore, we are literally going to have Ravenloft modern, and that's not what we want to play.
No, like I said, this is not Care Bear World. Get your fucking shit together and get the fuck out. Because I got no sense of humor about you people. So y'all need to goddamn get yes. Full Moon, yes. Seriously. There is a MLP D10. Yes, ma'am. Or, yeah, I'm assuming you're a ma'am. So,
yep, Daria, yep, she's my BFF. So, yeah,
okay,
she's
yeah, because this is some crazy shit. And I don't have time. I mean, I do, but I don't.
He's like, on a program, making time.
Yeah, no, I just don't. No, my stress levels are high enough, by the way. So don't stress me out about my game.
Yeah.
I think. Go ahead.
I was just going to point out that the one thing I feel like a lot of people forget who do this outrage, which to me reads that maybe not all of them are really into the game, is the idea that you can alter any of this. Every White Wolf book says it. If you don't like something, change it as the storyteller. Change it as the players.
Vampire, page 96 says if you don't like it, change it.
Right.
And it's been that way ever since.
Right. I think that's really the point that I would like to pivot off of is I'd like to try to put myself in the shoes of this very offended person who's not irrational. I'm trying to imagine this person who's not irrational, who's literally just like, I don't know, Chechnyan and gay and offended and try to work through that with them. You know what I'm saying? And so I think if I were that person and I were to be in the front of all these White Wolf folks, like what would I say to them? I mean, obviously they would say, well, I don't want you to do that. And so the response would be, how do you want me to change the game in order to never make, to make this never happen again? And
okay.
I think the only,
Go ahead, Ian. Finish your thought.
So I think the only way that someone could actually change the game in order for this to not happen again would be to avoid a laundry list of horrific events like, rape, murder, whatever. And all of that stuff would basically have to be removed from the game, sanitizing the game in such a way as to not offend people. And
you know what? I mean, hold on, man. I want to I'm going to make all these motherfuckers read a copy of the book Fahrenheit 451.
Sure.
All right,
Yeah,
and just skip the whole book and just read the last chapter, and say, "Look, you dumbass, this is exactly what happens the minute you just start saying everything needs to be just the way you want it."
Eric, hold on. We just lost our feed. Give it a second to
Oh.
resync. Yeah,
We need like
just lost
feed
it again.
lost song, like a theme song for that.
No.
But nothing copyrighted.
Yeah.
No, that's why I use what we use. It's I actually enjoy that particular song. It's on my
I think we're
MP3 player.
back. I don't know.
It's actually fun. All right, so yeah, we're back. It looks like video output is low, but that doesn't mean anything because we're doing
Okay.
audio.
Cool.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you first. You were going to finish your thought, Ian. I was about to be like, so Ian, finish that thought.
Yeah. Well, I forget what I was saying, so I'm gonna pass it off to somebody else. So there.
Oh. From what you were saying, I think then Eric was jumping off of this idea that trying to avoid ever offending anyone literally just leads to mass censorship and no fun.
Right.
And I actually really like Someboard Loser, who commented, like, if you don't like the Nazi antagonist, just fucking shoot them.
yeah, exactly. No, I feel you, dude. I feel you. Thank you, Sunboard.
Exactly.
I appreciate it. Now, here's the thought I wanted to get across is that now people are screaming for higher ups in White Wolf to fucking quit because of this bullshit.
Retarded.
And I'm like, these are good people. These
Yeah, you know
these
how
guys
hard
are
it is to get that job, dude, and then to get fired over some bullshit.
over
Oh my
some
God.
bullshit, yo. Over some serious bullshit.
Ugh.
So here's the thing: Martin Erickson don't need to go goddamn nowhere. Jason Carl don't need to go any fucking place.
Oh, dude, Jason is so sensitive. That would be. Are they calling for him to quit? That's terrible.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that any of these people don't have any reason to want to resign or be forced out of an industry that they're really good at, by the way. Thank you very much. So, but just because you're offended, no, that was the thing about that Nazi line. 4 fucking words. They were screaming for Martin and every goddamn body at the main office to be fired.
Unbelievable.
It's true. So something to also keep in mind with that article specifically that you're looking at, as I mentioned in my Facebook comment, Polygon is trash. So you have to take everything in it with a pinch of salt.
Okay, I'm gonna have to comment on that. So I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons, what the fuck ever, since 1993. I've always been interested in all the magazines. He's right. Polygon is actually shit. It's not a good magazine. I mean, okay, whatever. I'm sure somebody is highly offended that I said that, and I'm sure people work really hard on the magazine, and I'm just really insensitive. But I've been following these magazines, Dungeon and Dragon magazine, whatever, White Wolf magazine back in the day, for forever. And Polygon really always was a crappy one. It was kind of the grab bag extra stuff and be talking about RPGs that you don't even fucking watch or listen to. And, I didn't really notice that until today that both of those articles were Polygon articles.
Yeah.
Says it all.
You know what offends me?
What's that?
You know what offends me?
No.
Assless chaps, right? And vegan cheese. Those offend my sensibilities. I can't stand those things. We need to not ever have those things again. And those guys who make that need to just see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to dial that one back. But I'll agree with the bad cheese. I mean, anyone who eats bad cheese should be summarily
It
shot.
looks like
So
we
the
got
moment
somebody
you
else
said-
who wants to jump in on this conversation. So y'all keep going. Let me grab him.
So the
Jason
minute you
Barber is
said-
one of our, prior guests. This
Ooh.
brother's
Sure.
from across the pond. He's an awesome dude, and I love him
Yeah,
to death.
So
I think. Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say the minute he said assless chaps, I was just like female Malkavian run in Bloodlines.
Okay, here's the thing, guys.
Assless chaps.
Every time I hear that phrase, assless
Assless
chaps,
chaps can complete a character,
but there are no asses in chaps, period. That's what I'm saying. That's what really bends me, sometimes
think-
with the assless chap. Well, chaps don't have ass. So
I think you really have to be from the 80s to get that joke. That back in the day, like, there was always
I
these
graduated
weirdos in
high
the
school
movies.
in 1984.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was born in 1984, but I remember
were
the
ya?
80s very clearly. Yeah.
You're the
But I
same
remember
age as
the
my
80s.
son. Holy shit.
Hey, you're right. I'm 34, but yeah, I'm not the youngest guy. What I'm getting at is the assless chap guy there was always like this really aggressive, in these 80s movies, these you get into these weird seedy. Yeah, and it wasn't to me, to be honest, it wasn't ever totally clear that there was a gay thing. It was more like a leather thing, SM thing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was just a thing. It wasn't necessarily gay or whatever. But it was like a really intrusive scene. You're always like this big muscular guy, like sexually assaulting a smaller man with while wearing assless chaps. And you're like, okay, this is kind of scary. No more of that.
Hey, Jason, welcome, man. So, throw your 2 cents in on this one, or 2 pence, as you would say.
Okay. This is a little bit extensive, but I've been following this whole thing for a little while now, and I've probably up until now, barring like some private conversations, haven't come out in public or anything with what I know about this stuff. But with what I know about Chechnya, I can kind of see where the writers were trying to go with this, even though I think they're probably... I mean, this is probably one of the few things that I will partially agree with the particular demographic that is obviously taking offence at this.
What, you mean
The one thing,
private?
which World of Darkness has always done is they've all, regardless of whichever monsters that they've used, is that they've always pointed out that the monsters, regardless of whether it's vampires, werewolves, or whatever, they weren't the ones that instigated these tragedies, whether it was the Holocaust.
It was other humans.
Yeah, exactly. They benefited from them. Like for example, for World War II, that was started primarily of its own accord, and the Technocratic Union, for example, gained the most from it because it allowed them to push out more and more like mechanical concepts into the world. But then the Nefandi took advantage of this, and they took advantage of the Nazi zeal, and next thing we know, many millions of people were dead. But anyway, to bring it back to the thing in Chechnya, for what I actually know about Chechnya, the current president is this guy called Ramzan Kadyrov. He's actually the son of the former Chechen president Akhmat Kadyrov. What I think that the writers were going with this is that they were trying to point out that, yes, as a result of Kadyrov's wish to suppress, let's be honest with ourselves, the more militant and religious factions within his republic, he's basically just creating probably one of the worst human rights atrocities that the region has seen for quite a long time. Even back during the first and second Chechen wars during the 90s. And I will agree that this is probably not something that should be relegated to just like a single line, and I definitely will agree that it probably they should have at least put a disclaimer, like saying this stuff is actually happening in real life, and you should advocate at least something, at least go out there and say something about it.
Yeah.
But I can kind of get where they were going with the idea of trivializing it, but
can you imagine?
I think that I don't.
Thing?
Yeah.
I mean, just basically, hello, it's a game about horror, so let's talk about horrible themes. And this is a fucking horrible theme. It really is.
I got a couple things to add to this from a really weird standpoint.
All right, man, go.
All right, so I spent a lot of time in drug counseling and working a lot in a local treatment center. One of the things that I would do with the patients that they really enjoyed was I would play. This was when the Blue World of Darkness came out. I would play that with the patients. Basically, what I would do is they would play their characters in some real life situations and figure out, if they're playing the ultimate person they are themselves, how they would, treat other people and things like that, so they understand that their actions have consequences. These games are actually very helpful with that. All right. And it became, guys would ask, what are we doing this Thursday? What are we playing? So it became a really big thing with them. So they were having fun while also learning, like real life lessons that they're going to need when they leave. All right. So, I wanted to share that with you guys because that's actually because I could put them in difficult